We are the defenders of mankind against the horrors that dwell in the darkness. While we draw breath, we stand. While we stand, we fight. We are the angels of death. We are the blade drawn against the endless night. Nothing will survive our wrath.
Hello everyone, how's it going? It's been 3 or more days, all depending on when I get to edit this video, that Focus and Saber Interactive had given us another peek at the gameplay of the much anticipated Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. So naturally, I wanted to take a stab at it and dissect what bit of details this video could provide. For surely, with Darktide ongoing, we aren't exactly starved of real-time action games set in the 40k universe, but the power fantasy of a Space Marines handing down holy wrath in a less turn-based way is surely lacking. So let's jump into it. When it comes to the background regarding this game, we know literally nothing so far, besides some visual assumptions that correlate with events that transpired at the end of the last game. Captain Titus was accused by fellow Ultramarine Leandros of conspiring with Chaos, which landed him in the hands of the Inquisition. As a punishment, well, Titus was given more service studs than before, meaning that the sequel is set few centuries after the first game. For the uninitiated, because I know that a good bunch aren't necessarily Warhammer fans in that sense, but still did enjoy that game, Space Marines are genetic freaks and have a crazy lifespan. Some have notably lived for more than 10,000 years. That longevity will at times earn them respect and status, but for Titus it's none of the above. The marking on his helmet shows two things. For one, he's become a Primaris, a super duper type of Space Marine with some more steroids.
I've done steroids, and yes, I'm on steroids, monitored and managed by a trained hormone clinician.
Yes, it's literally like that. Second is that he's been demoted to Lieutenant, or Lieutenant, whichever pronunciation that strike your fancy. And lastly, of course, are the chains around his right wrist. Multiple theories on that one. My favorite is that it's a mark of censure, much like the Nick Himes audio drama. This could indicate that Titus would have been marked for carrying that teeny bit of warp energy in the last game. Another one that likely ties with this previous theory is that he was drafted into the Death Watch. Did I just say drafted? Like was your football player. Either ways, Titus is back bigger and better in a Primaris body and armor, and he looks hella good. Now onto the trailer. Kicking off, we have a level of the game that is likely to melt your GPU like a sister of battle with a melter weapon. This shot of Titus slamming his thunder hammer amidst a swarm of Tyranids is simply fantastic. Similarly to the final shot of the trailer, we will finally be able to have a 40k game that delivers that Dynasty Warrior or Genocide Simulator feel of ripping and tearing through a horde of enemies. We have Titus strolling through the Hive world as he transitions to what I would assume is the underhive of this world. A neat aspect to include here because, backstory, Ultramarines have a long history of warfare against these giant bugs, who despite their feral characteristic can display strategic genius, like flanking the Space Marines from underground. If you've ever read any story regarding a very saucy Inquisitor, you'll know how insane the situations with the Tyranids can get. But this seems not to be a problem since Titus, very much like the last game, does possess a melter gun. These weapons, unlike the regular bull gun, do not fire explosive Red Bull-sized rounds. Instead, they fire straight plasma, hot enough to pierce through most heavy armor. Now, on the Scaredcast with Scary and Tanya, the day after this trailer came out, we touched on the scale of the world in 40k media, and how it's next to impossible to bring forth good visual representation of just how massive Hive World can be. I think, however, that this would be a very good contender, with the ever so rising spires in the background, tower defenses, and the swarms of Tyranids just climbing up those stairs. The scale here is just phenomenal, and I'm really excited to be able to walk through this. And while I believe that the game will be linear like its predecessor, with my newfound likeness to certain horror titles, some backtracking would be nice. The environment is shown not to be static at all, so being able to return to some ever-changing levels would be very cool. As we move on with the Tyranid shot here, there is a really neat artistic choice that they've gone with. Yes, the character mesh are super cool. They are rendered in Ultra 4K or whatever you want to say. And they kind of do border that realistic look, but the color palette here is extremely exaggerated. This is of course aside of those shots that are pre-rendered and looking extra glossy. But in some of the sequences here, you can really tell that they are trying to accentuate that brutality that a Primaris can deliver. How he swings his power sword the way that my character in Elden Ring will do, even going so far as to pose ever so slightly after every combos. Yet still, there is a realistic emphasis on destruction here. Particles flying off in every direction, building crumbling under the bombardments, and the greatest part of this of course being that it is largely gameplay footage. Now, I did say that the movements are long drawn, but they are by no means slow, because in real speed, they hit pretty fast, which mind you is also lore accurate. For despite the size, inside every Space Marine lies a Jamaican man smiling. Okay, back on target. The Donk Marine is back. Yes, we still have our jump packs, and this time we even get to see the lift off. In the last trailer from 1 year ago, wait, what's a showcase during the last Game Awards? Sorry, in that last trailer we got to see how Titus descended. But this time around, not only does our Primaris armor have leg thrusters, there also seems to be a hover option. Or at least something that is controlled enough for us to be able to shoot from an elevated position. Something that I sort of missed from the first game is something that you will see in games like Shadow of War, where brutally killing your foes will make some of your enemies cower in fear. It's a nice touch that they brought this here. Additionally, if you pay attention, blocking is no longer a thing that is exclusive to quick time events or during finishers. Titus can actually do it in real time. Even more mind-blowing than this is that he can sidestep and even backstab. By the Emperor, how far we've come. All mechanics that are going to be very useful, since it appears that the enemy will be raining down from the sky from those mycetic spores, the Tyranids equivalent of the Astartes drop pods. When it comes to the possible lore, I'm imagining something akin to what the first game dealt with, especially when watching this shot. For when you look at the device in the background, it should make you remember the original Space Marine. Back then, there was this power source on Griar of Chaos origin that was extracted by an Inquisitor. The goal was of course to contain it and ultimately bringing it back to Macragge and seal it away in one of the Ultramarine vaults. Titus though did decide to break the damn thing in his final Dragon Ball fight scene, as he deemed the power source to be too dangerous. It is the second time this month and the game makes me think of Dragon Ball. But the Tyranids, like moths drawn to a flame, might have detected this energy source on the Hive world and deemed it a suitable meal. But regardless of the reasons, purging Xenos will be a blast wherever we get a release date. But before we end, I would be remiss if I didn't share some of the tidbit that I found out while doing a little bit of research regarding, well, a release date for this game. There are rumors of multiplayer being included from day one in this game, which would be amazing because it's kind of part of the brand. That's one of the aspects of the original Space Marine game that many did like. And also from this Eurogamer article that I found yesterday, Focus Home Interactive have a Macragge Chosen DLC planned for this, featuring alternate skin for your Primaris armor, as well as chainsaw blade and bolt rifle. It's like the typical pre-order mission exclusive that you get when you buy the game beforehand. And I don't know, this is most likely not going to be everyone's favorite piece of DLC because I imagine that a good number of people have grown quite fond of the Firstborn look. But yeah, we get what we get. I also like to imagine that they are sort of withholding a lot of the information regarding this game so to not overhype what tends to be untempered expectations, but I hope that we get to see more details in early 2023. Anyhow, thank you for watching this breakdown, and I wish you all to have a great day. See ya in the next one. Bye.